ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kevin Jackwitz. Welcome to the Kaged Match. Brand new channel, man. I love it. So, sorry this is coming in a little bit late. It's coming in the next day, but late on the next day. Had some technical issues, but whatever. Let's get into it. Abysmal Hell in a Cell. Abysmal WWE Raw. So now we're coming into AEW. And this is where they really have a chance to shine. And shine, they really did. When you compare this to everything else WWE, even NXT has done this week, I have to make the comparisons. I really feel that AEW stepped up. And this is where it could be a difference maker for the company. So, let's talk about it, shall we? You open up the show with just two amazingly athletic tag teams. The Young Bucks versus Private Party. The Young Bucks I'm familiar with. Private Party, not so much. But they came in and they really blew me away. I really love how AEW did this too, because AEW, Matt and Nick, they kind of helped create AEW. So you know that their position is solidified. You know that they are recognized as a really good tag team. They're pretty well known. So now you bring in Private Party, a very talented tag team, did some amazing high-flying stuff, very energetic, and they got the surprise win over Young Bucks in what is a tag team tournament. And so it was kind of this upset victory that's like, okay, now everybody's paying attention to this tag team Private Party. I thought it was really smart because really nobody loses in this scenario. So it was a really great way to book this. After that first match, you get Chris Jericho come down. He is the AEW champion, and he's accompanied with Santana, Ortiz, Sammy Guevara, and of course Jake Hager. Jake Hager, if you don't know, is Jack Swagger from WWE. And so basically what this promo was, again, very smart the way they went about this. Most people are going to know who Chris Jericho is. He's been in WCW, he's been in WWE, he's been in New Japan, he's been everywhere. He got his own rock band, for God's sake. So you get this guy and you have him introducing basically everybody that some people might not know to the audience. And he's talking up Guevara, he's talking up Santana and Ortiz. But this promo got really smart off the cuff. And here's what happens. He starts talking about Jake Hager, who is Jack Swagger. And instantly the crowd started chanting, "We the people." And Chris Jericho cut that chant off. And he's like, no, that's from a different time where creative sucked, basically. And just off the cuff remarks that were throwing huge daggers at WWE. But it was smart, it was well timed, and it was literally the best thing that could have happened. So overall, a very good promo section, and he introduces these guys as the Inner Circle, which is this new faction. And wrestling, especially in WWE, has not had good factions in a while. You've had tag teams, even three-man tag teams, but you haven't really had a good faction. So it's really cool to see that element come back to wrestling. After that, you get Jimmy Havoc, who had a pretty decent promo package that played while he was coming down to the ring. And it was him versus Darby Allin, and this was a #1 contendership spot for the AEW Championship. So whoever wins is going to face Chris Jericho next week on Dynamite. Good match. Both of these guys are kind of known for their hardcore style, and they were talking at the beginning of the match how they didn't really want these guys, in a hardcore match. They wanted to see what they could, or they wanted to show rather that they could have just a straight up good wrestling match. And it really was. It had a couple of hardcore elements to it, but overall, it was just a good match. It really was. At the end of the day, Darby Allin gets the win, and he's facing Jericho next week. Everything's good so far. They go straight from one match to the next match. Imagine that on a wrestling program. And it was Emi Sakura versus with Bea Priestley rather, versus Riho and Britt Baker. And this is kind of a tag team match that sets up a couple of feuds here. Britt Baker and Priestley have had something kind of brewing for a while, and now it looks like they've got Riho versus Sakura maybe happening. So it was a good match. It had some good spots, especially Britt Baker versus Priestley kind of going at it outside the ring. At the end of the day, Britt Baker puts a submission on Sakura, and she has this thing. Now, if you don't know, Britt Baker is an actual real-life dentist. And so one of her things now is She'll do like a modified version of a mandible claw where she actually reaches in the person's mouth and grabs him by the jawbone. So she had this submission on, and she actually locks in that jaw lock while she's got the submission. Sakura taps, Rio and Britt Baker win. Again, everything's good so far. Then they do a very short promo package on screen with Best Friends. It didn't last very long, and then there's an interviewer asking Best Friends at ringside, because they were sitting ringside for the tag team match earlier, what they thought their chances were in the tournament. And they said, you know, why ask us? Why don't you ask this guy? And they separated their bodies. And sitting behind them was Orange Cassidy, who just gives a big thumbs up. So it was really funny, man. Orange Cassidy's got this great gimmick. If you're not familiar with him, go look him up. He's got a really interesting gimmick, but he's really, really talented in the ring. So after that, Shawn Spears is sitting on a chair on the ramp. His music hits. Tully Blanchard comes down with him, and now it is Shawn Spears with Blanchard versus Jon Moxley. If you don't know, Shawn Spears, I forget what they called him in WWE. He was the Perfect 10. I can't remember his name in WWE, but it was the Perfect 10 guy. And of course, Jon Moxley was Dean Ambrose in WWE. So this match was pretty damn good. I think that Spears can hold his own in a main event situation. It was a good match. They had some good spots. Especially Shawn Spears had Jon Moxley on his shoulders outside the ring and then just kind of dumped Dean Ambrose into the fence and on the concrete. It looked really painful. We all know Moxley's not afraid of taking a hit. So it had a good back and forth. Tully Blanchard doing the heel manager thing, kept getting involved. And Jon Moxley eventually overcomes, wins the match. At that point, Kenny Omega, his music hits. He comes down to the ramp. He's got a broom wrapped in barbed wire and a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. Moxley starts walking up to meet him. Kenny Omega throws a bat to Jon Moxley, at which point it looks like they're going to clash, but Pac, who has been on commentary for the whole match, runs up to Kenny Omega from behind, hits him with a chair, and then Jon Moxley just looks at both of them kind of pissed off because he didn't want to capitalize on what somebody else had done. So he just walks to the back. So I thought that was a very cool segment because now you have 4 major players in AEW. They're all kind of interconnected in this feud. Shawn Spears, Jon Moxley, Pac, and Kenny Omega. These are all big names, and they can all sell a match. So they could go a lot of different directions with this feud or feuds. So I thought it was really smart booking again. Now you have the last match of the night, which is Dustin Rhodes and Adam Page versus Jericho and Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara, very young, very talented, incredibly athletic. Adam Page, again, incredibly athletic. So this was going to be a good match. Dustin Rhodes really knows how to tell a story. Jericho really knows how to tell a story. And these guys, accompanied with these highly athletic guys, it's bound to be something good. Jericho and Guevara had Jack Hager with them at ringside. Of course, he gets involved at points. It ends up with Jericho hitting the Judas effect on Dustin Rhodes. He gets the pin, and then they start beating down Dustin Rhodes. The lights go out, come back on, and there's Cody Rhodes. So fight ensues. They get the upper hand on Cody. Then Santana and Ortiz come down. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, MJF comes down. Now, MJF, if you're not familiar, he's a really good promo guy. Really good heel promo guy, too. And he's done a lot of good heel promo work, so you expected him to smack Cody Rhodes with the cherry head in his hands. But instead, he starts taking out all of this inner circle. He's all proud. He has a good pop from the crowd. He has this really good reaction. He looks at the crowd with his crazy face. And everything just worked. And so at the end of the day, he gets a code breaker, and then, finally this battle kind of ends when the Young Bucks come down. Young Bucks start taking out Santana and Ortiz. Dustin comes back, Cody comes back. And so they kind of push the inner circle out of the ring. So you're kind of 50-50 booking right now. You have Inner Circle was standing tall last week on the premiere episode. And the second week, you have the Elite standing tall. So I really do like this faction thing they've got going on. There's so many things they can do with it. So really excited about this so far, man, because for 2 weeks in a row, they put on some stellar shows. Really, really good stuff. Every match was good. It was entertaining. It really captivated you. The storylines, they had points to them. They were directing towards pay-per-views. They were directing towards the show next week. Everything had a purpose. And this is what WWE is missing. Like, everything has a focus to it, and I love that. And the ironic thing about that is, like, from what I understand, they have 0 writers for this, so right now. Like, they're just kind of doing this as wrestlers coming together. And I think it's brilliant. So, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 because it was just a very strong showing. And it really didn't have any weak points. You might be able to argue that Best Friends promo was maybe a weak link or something. But even if you felt that way, it lasted like 30 seconds. So it was a very strong show. Very strong. So ladies and gentlemen, that's where I'm at. 9 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below if you enjoyed this. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz. Kaged Nation, out.